right, chapter 6, Entraining Self with Synchronicity. How do we do that?
Yeah, so we know now scientifically that all of this is the big picture. How do we then entrain ourselves that way? And that takes practice. It takes that meditation practice. It takes using EFT to tap away your stress. It takes time in nature. It takes kindness and compassion. It takes elevated emotion. It takes emotional regulation. So you put all of this together, and suddenly synchronous things like the Tony Robbins story just start to happen to you. So you aren't trying so hard. Your life unfolds synchronously. You wake up in the morning, you meditate, and the universe just brings you all kinds of synchronicities. And things start to happen like the keys in the ocean over and over and over in your life. And then it becomes your new normal. It just becomes the way you live your life. You know you'll be led effortlessly to the people with whom you're supposed to play and sing and dance in your life. Carl Jung noticed synchronicity. Einstein noticed synchronicity. Einstein said synchronicity is God's way of remaining anonymous. But you can entrain yourself deliberately, and then you start to have those types of synchronous experiences over and over and over. Now, one of the interesting things about this is when you are in that state of coherence, you have abilities that you don't normally have. One of those is precognition. Precognition is a really interesting field of study, and there have been over 100 studies, tightly controlled trials of precognition, and they show that there is a thing such as knowing or having some sense of the future. And so I review that research, and it's so interesting that people have these experiences of deja vu, of knowing, and research shows that it's not the occasional person this happens to, that this happens to lots and lots and lots of people. They have these experiences like telepathy, clairvoyance. We call these anomalous experiences in research, but they aren't anomalous. Most people have them. Chinese people have them. Japanese people have them. Argentinians have them. Americans have them. Mexicans have them. Canadians have them. People from all over the world have them. About 2/3 of people have some kind of out-of-body experience or precognitive or clairvoyant experience. These are just natural human experiences. They are not the anomalies we think they are. But what I also do in the book is I provide a really clear scientific explanation for the why this works. And the why has to do with the planet we live on. Earth is a giant electromagnet. It has a North Pole and a South Pole. We use a compass to find our way around. And so we know there's a North Pole and a South Pole, but like any magnet, there are field lines of flux around the planet. And these field lines have been measured now by geologists for around a century. They've known about these lines. They predicted these lines before they even found them. And so there are these huge lines called the field lines. And as the solar wind blows past the Earth at about 2 million miles an hour, it actually plucks these field lines like strings on a guitar or a violin. So it sets up a resonant frequency in these field lines. And there are several known frequencies that scientists study in the field line resonances of the Earth. And at the end of that chapter, I have one diagram from a scientific study that I think is one of the most stunning pieces of research and evidence ever shown. It is the heart coherence rate of a meditator for 1 month, overlaid over the fluctuations of the Earth's field line resonances for that 1 month. And in those 30 days, they track each other closely.
My goodness.
So when you're in tune like that, when you're in heart coherence, when you're a meditator, you're literally in tune with these solar system-sized energy fields that are around you. That provides the first really solid scientific evidence for things like distant effects, distant healing. Because if you're in tune with these patterns, you're in tune with everyone else is in tune with them as well. And that's the huge insight I had. I had so many aha moments when I was writing the book and looking at the research, but that was the big one. That when you're in tune with non-local mind, when you're in tune with non-local fields, non-local reality, you're literally in tune with everyone else who's in tune with that. So those synchronous things, that's when Tony Robbins, gets in touch with you and says, come be on my panel. So
so you can create your own reality. right?
You are creating your own
You
reality.
absolutely can, and in a positive way, because I think we're all stumbling into our realities because we're not necessarily controlling it mindfully.
Right.
And with your tools and techniques, you're empowering us all to take charge and hence create a far more beautiful picture. And, you know, imagine the power of waking up in the morning and saying, what experience would I like to have today? I'm going to think of it. To your point, I think I want to be on the Tony Robbins show, or I think I want to go meet with him. And bam, there comes the call, because you are in sync and you have now developed that power, that superpower of making life happen to you the way you want it to happen to you instead of stumbling into it.
And you're very careful about what you think about. Christine and I, my wife and I, are very careful about what we talk about, what we think about, what we say we want, because we can manifest stuff. But you know, if we're manifesting from the level of our local mind or out of fear, then that will not be our highest good. So we're very, very careful to tune into the highest good before we seek to want any